please, microphone round.
This is a text of World Press Conference by the Association of Igbo Town Union, ASITU, on the inhuman and unending demolition of Igbo buildings and assets in Lagos. Held in Umuahia, the Abia state capital, on this day, Friday, October 24th, 2025. Distinguished gentlemen of the press, for months now, we have watched in anguish as properties owned by Igbo businessmen and women in Lagos have been systematically demolished. These are not abandoned structures or overnight shanties. These properties are life investments, plazas, where mothers sell to feed their children, warehouses where young men store goods for their families, shops where dreams of prosperity are nurtured with sweat and prayers. On February 14, 2025, trading plazas belonging to Igbo businessmen at a betrayal market were demolished by agents of the Lagos state government. Since September 2025, demolitions have intensified at the trade fair complex in Ojo, where countless Igbo traders conduct their daily commerce. These demolitions continue to this day. ASITU acknowledges that Lagos State has a duty to enforce planning laws, maintain safety standards, and prevent building collapses. We do not dispute the government's right to ensure orderly urban development. What we dispute and what we categorically reject is the selective, discriminatory, and often extrajudicial manner in which these demolitions have been carried out. Many of the demolished properties had valid approvals issued by the very same Lagos state government that later destroyed them. Owners who followed due process, who paid their fees, who waited for stamp duties and signatures, now stand amid ruins, asking one simple question: why? But why? Where notices were given, they were often too brief for meaningful legal responses. Where documentation was presented, it was dismissed or ignored. Where owners attempted to regularize perceived deficiencies, they were met with bulldozers instead of bureaucrats. This is not law enforcement. This is the erasure of livelihood. The destruction of legitimacy, violation of constitutional guarantees that should protect every Nigerian regardless of ethnicity. It is necessary to speak plainly about something that weighs down every Igbo man. Our people love Nigeria, no doubt. Let no one doubt this. Let no one twist our cries for justice into cause for secession. We have played for Nigeria. We have built Nigeria. In every corner of this nation, from Sokoto to Calabar, from Maiduguri to Badagry, you will find Igbo men and women who have invested not just their money, but their very lives into the Nigerian dream. We are traders in your markets, the manufacturers in your industrial estates. We are the teachers in your schools. We are the doctors in your hospitals. We are the engineers building your roads and bridges. We are the adhesive that binds Nigerian nation. In fact, we are the embassy that joins Nigeria together. While others may see Nigeria as a collection of regions, we see it as one country, one economy, one shared destiny. That is why we do not muster only in Igbo land. That is why we spread across every state, building, investing, employing, and integrating. We marry your daughters and give you our sons. We speak your languages and respect your customs. We celebrate Nigeria's diversity because we live it every single day of our life. No other ethnic group in Nigeria has so thoroughly embraced the idea of a unified Nigerian state through their actions, their investments, and their presence everywhere. Yet, we are consistently made to feel unwelcome. We are told we are too ambitious, that we are too industrious, that we are too enterprising. Our success is resented rather than celebrated. Our properties become targets. Our investments become liabilities. And when we cry out, we are told we are troublemakers, that we are ungrateful, that we should go back to where we came from. As if Lagos, as if any part of Nigeria, for that matter, is not ours too. As if the Constitution does not guarantee every Nigerian the right to reside and own property in any part of the federation. The plain truth that haunts our collective consciousness is that when an Igbo man calls himself a Biafran today, it is not because he wakes up dreaming of secession, no. It is because he goes to sleep feeling rejected. It is because he has been made to feel that Nigeria does not want him. That Nigeria, despite his contributions, despite his sacrifices, despite his unwavering belief in what Nigeria, he is still considered an outsider, in fact, an outcast. The Biafran identity that you hear in some Igbo voices today is not a threat to Nigeria. Never. It is not, it is a cry of pain from Nigerians who feel marginalized, who feel excluded, who feel that their citizenship is conditional, even worthless. Biafra is a phenomenon. Biafra is a phenomenon. To the extent to which an Igbo man feels the marginalization, to that extent, he is a Biafra. Therefore, I am and we are in this contest Biafrans. God call police for us. Let the world understand this. The Igbo man sees himself as a Biafran to the extent that he feels unwelcome in Nigeria, not because he inherently desires separation. He retreats into ethnic identity when national identity is denied to him. He speaks of Biafra when Nigeria speaks to him in the language of demolition, in the language of marginalization, in the language of exclusion. If Nigeria will embrace her Igbo children today fully, if Nigeria will protect their constitutional rights, if Nigeria will celebrate their industry rather than punish it, you will find no more patriotic Nigerians than the Igbo people. These demolitions in Lagos are not just about building. They are an assault on the very principles of national building and national cohesion that our founding fathers envisioned. How do we build one Nigeria when citizens are afraid to invest outside their ethnic homeland? How do we preach unity when investments in other states become a liability rather than assets? How do we achieve economic development when productive enterprise is destroyed without due process? These demolitions send a chilling message to every entrepreneur in Nigeria. Your legal documents mean nothing. Your approvals can be revoked arbitrarily. Your investments are not secure. Your ethnicity may determine your fate. Your ethnicity may determine your fate. One of the claims repeatedly made by the officials of Lagos State government to justify these demolitions is that the affected buildings were constructed on drainage canals, on drainage channels and canals. However, Senator Victor Umuahia himself, a trained and experienced real estate professional, personally led a team to inspect those of the demolished sites. After his technical assessment, Senator Umuahia declared publicly that these claims were completely false, as none of the demolished structures stood on any drainage, alignment, or canal path. His findings have cast serious doubt on the integrity of the Lagos State government and its officials. It breaks every Igbo heart, most profoundly, that many of these demolished properties were built with permits, built with approvals, built with certificates issued by the Lagos State government itself. Think about the cruel irony of this. A man goes to government office, fills the forms, pays the fees, waits for weeks or months for approval. Finally, he receives the precious document, stamped and signed by government officials. He breathes a sigh of relief. He proceeds to invest his life savings. He constructs his shop, his plaza, his warehouse. He hires workers, many of them indigenous Lagosians. He must have this. He pays his taxes. He contributes to local economy. Then, one morning, bulldozers arrive with that very same government agents declaring his approved building illegal. And within hours, his dreams are reduced to rumbles. How does one explain to his children? How does one explain this to his aged mother in the village, who sold her only farmland to contribute to her son's business? How does one explain this to his creditors, who advanced him loans based on government's own documentations. How does one explain this to his employees who are now jobless? This is not governance. This is betrayal. This is not law enforcement. This is wickedness. And when this wickedness appears, to target a particular ethnic group disproportionately, it becomes something even more sinister. It becomes ethnic cleansing by economic aids. It becomes ethnic cleansing by economic aids. We have documented cases, or case after case, where Igbo property owners followed every legal requirement only to have their properties demolished, while similar structures owned by others remain untouched. We have recorded instances where notices of demolition were served so close to the actual demolition date that no meaningful legal response was possible. We have witnessed situations where property owners who attempted to present their documentation were turned away or ignored. We have seen the pain in the eyes of the elderly traders who have lost everything they worked for over decades. This pain is real. This injustice is documented, and it can no longer be ignored. ASITU has formally petitioned to the United Nations Human Rights Council, or petitioned to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. We have also petitioned the ECOWAS Court of Justice. We have done this not because we lack faith in Nigerian institutions, but because those institutions have failed to respond adequately to our documented grievances. We have made 2 clear statements, engaged local authorities, sought dialogue at every level, yet the demolitions continue. The silence from federal authorities has been deafening. The indifference from those who should defend constitutional rights has been crushing. Today, we are establishing a property rights violation desk that will serve as a comprehensive documentation and legal response center. This desk will collect and collect verified data on every case of demolition affecting Igbo property owners in Lagos. Names, addresses, dates, documentations, approvals, notices, given or not given, compensations offered or denied. We will provide legal representation to affected persons. We will analyze patterns of enforcement and mobilize in defense of Igbo property rights. We will prepare cases for Nigerian courts and, where necessary, for international tribunals. We call upon every affected property owner to come forward. Do not suffer in silence. Do not accept injustice as fate. Bring your documents, bring your approvals, bring your receipts, your photographs, your witnesses. Let us build an undeniable record of what has happened here. Let us create a case so comprehensive, so well documented, so legally sound that it cannot be dismissed or ignored. Your individual pain will become our collective strength. Your individual pain will become our collective strength. Your losses will be documented as evidence of a pattern that demands remedy and reform. To the Igbo senators and representatives in the National Assembly, we say this with all urgency in our hearts. You were not sent to Abuja to be spectators. You were not elected to watch your people suffer in silence. You took an oath to defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That Constitution guarantees property rights, equal protection, due process, and freedom from discrimination. Where these rights are violated, as they are being violated now, you must act. Convene hearings. Summon Lagos State government officials. Invite affected property owners to testify. Legislate stronger protections. Pursue oversight. Make it impossible for this matter to be swept under the carpet for political expediency.